Chapter 5. What to Call Whom. The sign was painted on a glass door wedged between Bliss in a Glass Juice Bar and Old World Tailor's Alteration Shop. "Scoot, Miss Cassidy," Mom said, rolling up the car window so I couldn't complain. I looked up at the perfectly blue sky and wondered what Jack and I might do on a morning like this. Ride our bikes to Riverside Park and go fishing? Maybe play frisbee golf or mess with squirrels by feeding them the clay peanuts I made in art class? I started to curse Great-Grandma Reed again, but remembered my karma and yanked open the door, making the bells jingle multiple times. I have a little palsy in my right arm every time I open a door with bells. "Miss Cassidy. Corcoran. Miss Corcoran." I gave Miss Melton Mowry the once-over. She kind of figured to be an etiquette teacher, with hair as stiff as cotton candy that moved exactly when her head did, and lines around her mouth and eyes that seemed to keep them in marching order. "We'll cover promptness in Wednesday's class. For now, see if you can find a seat. Quietly, please." At breakfast, Magda and I decided that I wouldn't know anyone in my etiquette class because, one, it was on the posh side of town, and two, what normal kid would be caught dead in a place like this? Now, as I rolled up on my tiptoes to get a look over her shoulder, I saw a dozen students sitting at fancy tables set up with enough glasses and plates and silverware for dinner with the Queen of England. Either a lot of great-grandmas had a twisted dying wish, or there was something funny in the drinking water here on the East Side. Who in their right mind would waste their precious summer vacation on this? "Hello, Cassidy, I saved you a seat." "Delton, what are you doing here?" "Freeze." The other kids, who'd been whispering to one another, froze instantly. Even I did. Maybe we were playing statues. The tables were set up in the shape of a U, just like small group time back at Stocking Elementary. Miss Melton Mowry walked into the middle of the U and said, "Good morning, Mr. Bean. What a pleasure to see you." Those magic words broke the spell, and all the kids could move again. "When I want to insert the preferred way of behaving," she explained to me, "I ask the class to freeze." Well done, class. "What's with the stiff?" I pointed to the table at the front of the room. There were only 2 seats, and one was occupied by a dummy like you see in department stores, only she was dressed in the exact same suit as Miss Melton Mowry, same cotton candy hair combed to her shoulders, even the same scarf. "Freeze." One more time the whole class froze. I contorted my face like I was frozen under ice. It's a look I'm famous for in freeze tag. Miss Melton Mowry pinched my pointer finger. "I'd be delighted if you would introduce me to your companion, Miss Melton Mowry." I stayed frozen, but I squeaked out, "Wait a minute, I thought you were Miss Melton Mowry." "I am, and she is my assistant. Be seated, Miss Corcoran, and I will explain." I took the only seat available to a girl with rotten karma, next to Delton and some girl wearing a headband just like Sabrina Benson's. "Now that we are all assembled, we will begin. Again, welcome, students. I am Miss Star Melton Mowry, International Poise, Etiquette, and Communication Consultant. Every summer, I return here to teach my renowned finishing classes for genteel young men and women. Over the winter, you will find me in Dubai or Tokyo. During polite conversation, I will share my hobbies and other details about my life." I couldn't figure out why she talked so slow, but even I knew it wasn't polite to ask if she was a recovering stutterholic or something. "Allow me to introduce you to my assistant, Miss Information." Miss Melton Mowry waved her hand in the direction of the dummy. "That is a gesture, Miss Corcoran. In polite society, a slight gesture can indicate positioning. It is the preferred method to pointing." Even though Miss Melton Mowry hadn't told us to, I froze as I watched 6 of the 12 kids write down what she said on their notepads. "Miss Information is a gift from Sheikh Javed of the Dubai High Council. In some cultures, it is considered humiliating to be singled out as a bad example, so the Sheikh had this replica made of me. While she purports to be full of information, she demonstrates the incorrect way to do things, thus the double meaning of her name." More scribbling by the brown-nosers. Could there really be a test on all this malarkey? "Now," Miss Melton Mowry smoothed her skirt, which was already straight as a ruler, "I'd like you all to stand behind your chairs." We did. Miss Melton Mowry unbent Miss Information and stood her up so that they faced each other. Note her excellent posture. The head is in line with her shoulders, her back is straight, her arms are not crossed but hanging loosely at her sides, her torso. Miss Melton Mowry went on. "We learned there was even a right way to point your feet, straight ahead. This is the posture we will take when standing to greet someone. So, first I'll demonstrate and then you'll have a chance to practice with one another. We want to make sure we're at the correct distance from a person when we introduce ourselves. This automatically puts everyone at ease. The distance varies from culture to culture. Here in the United States, we're most comfortable about an arm's length away. Touching Miss Information on the shoulder, Miss Melton Mowry got in position. I raised my hand. In WWE, it's called the neutral stance, but your knees should be bent in case of a surprise attack. Rubbing her brow, Miss Melton Mowry asked, WWE? World Wrestling Entertainment, Miss Melton Mowry, Delton said. Cassidy's a big fan. Well, in this class, we will be introducing, not wrestling. So while that information might be useful in other contexts, let's try to focus on introducing ourselves this morning. Miss Melton Mowry straightened up again, practically locking her knees. I could have knocked her over with a feather. To continue, when greeting one another, extend your right hand, look the person you are about to meet in the eye, and say your name. I'm Miss Melton Mowry, followed by, it's very nice to meet you. Your grip should not be limp or tight, but firm. It took a bit of work to get Miss Information's arm in the right position, during which time I noticed Miss Melton Mowry lost her perfect smile. I wondered if we were going to cover any of the handshake variations, like the missing handshake, the funny sneeze, the tickling finger, the knuckle knocker, or the one I used on Principal Janesco, the surprise in the palm. But I guess polite people don't have a sense of humor. They just grab hands and let go. Why we had to spend time practicing this basic move was beyond me. I'm Calamity Cassidy, I said to the girl next to me. Nice to meet you. And I'm Miss Parker, she said without blinking. It's very nice to meet you too. Wow, that was dull. Very nice, Miss Parker. Now, everyone, turn to the student on your other side. Delton got what he deserved, the tickler. That's where you rub your finger up and down the other person's palm. It makes them either laugh or yank their hand away because it's so creepy. Look me in the eye, I reminded Delton as he tried to yank his hand out of mine. It's so nice to make your acquaintance, Mr. Bean. Delton bit his lip. It's so hard to meet you, Miss Corcoran. I leaned in so only Delton could hear. You think that's hard? I'm not letting go. We stood there, smiles tattooed on our faces. I was having my first etiquette showdown. I think this is the perfect segue to polite conversation time, Miss Melton Mopey said, staring straight at me, and when we're finished, we'll have Miss Corcoran and Miss Information change seats. What? I squinted at our teacher until I could see her double, a little trick I can accomplish without crossing my eyes. Would someone with superior hearing like to repeat what I just said? 12 hands went up, including Delton's. After that, we got a long, boring lecture about the things polite people did and did not say. Basically, you can talk about the weather, the decor, whatever that is, the traffic this morning, and how nice everyone looks. You can't talk about anything that causes an argument or anything that makes the other person feel bad, uncomfortable, stupid, or snort with laughter. How are you enjoying the class so far, Miss Corcoran? Delton asked me when we'd been given the go-ahead to actually talk. I figured there was plenty of time to be polite after I interrogated him. What do you think you're doing here? Delton's eyes darted over to Miss Melton Mowry. I pictured his big brain working overtime trying to decide whether or not to play by my rules and answer the questions or to keep talking polite nonsense. I am so enjoying etiquette class, he said. When our mothers chatted about it at the 5th grade graduation ceremony, mine thought it was a perfect chance for me to practice learning the social graces. I had to give it to Delton. He was answering my question in high society code. I could play at that too. That is sparkling, Delton. But your manners are so good already. Wouldn't you rather be at airplane camp? I couldn't agree with you more, Miss Corcoran. However, to quote my mother, Mrs. Bean, to be in Cassidy's company will give you some backbone, Delton. Not all learning takes place in a book. Cassidy has the kind of daring-do necessary to succeed in today's workplace. Miss Melton Mowry came over to me and Delton. Don't let me interrupt, she said, putting her hand on Delton's shoulder. I didn't. Well, give my regards to your mother, Mr. Bean. She is a very intelligent woman. Next time we meet, I'll tell her about my other class. It's on public speaking at the community college. The auditorium there holds 500 seats. I smiled like a beauty queen in the May Day parade as Delton's fingers started working away at his collarbone. It is a well-known fact that Delton has a serious case of performance anxiety. He practically needs to be medicated to give an oral report. He can talk just fine from his seat, but make him stand up and have everyone be quiet. It's like he's been set in front of a firing squad. He opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out. Mr. Bean, are you all right, Mr. Bean? Miss Melton Mowry asked. Delton nodded, still in shock. You do have a way of surprising people, Miss Corcoran, Miss Delton Mowry said to me. I look forward to chatting with you further. The further, the better. If you ever get a bad case of insomnia, the cure is to take an etiquette class in a room with no air conditioning. Just when I thought I couldn't keep my eyes open for another long lecture about how to sit, stand, and stick your arm out, our teacher decided we'd had enough for one day. Hallelujah! Just my luck, by the time we got out, it was raining, which meant that Jack and I had to hunker down in my bedroom to figure out what to do. Let's go outside anyway, I said, knee bouncing on my bed to keep Mom from delivering a bottom of the stairs lecture about the ceiling caving in. I'm like a puppy. I need exercise every day or I start chewing slippers. You were out all day yesterday. We practically wore out our bicycle pedals. Still, I grabbed my stuffed bunny and tied his ears in a knot. Maybe we should play Pound the Bunny. My Uncle Oscar, who has 0 kids, so he doesn't know any better, gave me a giant stuffed version of Pat the Bunny for my 8th birthday. At first, I thought it was the worst present ever, until Jack showed me what a great stand-in the bunny could be for a WWE opponent. Bad idea. Remember when what your mom said she'd do if she had to resort to using the air horn again to bust us up? True, I did not want to be a volunteer pooper scooper at Riverside Park. Bouncing just high enough to land on my feet, I hopped over to the dresser and set the bobblehead dolls on the edge. Let's play bobblehead suicide leap. This involved doing carefully timed jumping jacks to make the dresser vibrate until at least 6 bobblehead tigers lost their lives in a 3-drawer fall. We should play a prank on Magda. Jack and I are legendary for our pranks at Stocking Elementary. To anyone who knows us, really. We're very particular about them and very strict about the rules. 1, they have to be funny. 2, they have to involve danger. 3, you can't leave behind any evidence. 4, no permanent damage. 5, no hurting anybody. 6, when confronted, become iridium. 7, if, heaven forbid, you're caught red-handed, confess and take your punishment like a man, woman. Magda's so boring, all she'll do is tell Mom. I know. We can play a prank on Sabrina Benson. Bree, we just met her. So that's even better. I threw myself back on the bed, crossing my arms and legs. This could be good, something with her makeup. Jack did not join me on the bed the way he was supposed to. I pushed myself up on my elbows. What's wrong? Unknotting Pat the Bunny's ears, Jack tossed him to me. I'd rather wrestle. I can't pull a prank on my employer. Why not? We did that one on Percy. Remember when we tied his favorite squeaky toy to a bungee cord and hung it just out of his reach? That was different. No, it wasn't. You shoveled their walk when Mr. Fenster threw his back out. I just think Magda's a better target. Skip the pranks, I said. I say we go outside. It's still raining. So? I know, Jack said. Let's see how many push-ups we can do. Boring. We both knew Jack had passed me on push-ups last year. The gap was growing. Okay, I'll balance you on my feet. Deal. But if I fall on you and perform a cobra clutch, don't scream out loud, okay? End of chapter 5.